believe we should be live. Yes, we are live now.
Yes. Hello, I warmly welcome you to our 76th webinar by the Academy of Space Renaissance International. My name is Sabine Heinz, and I'm the person responsible for our webinar series, and also I'm one of the vice presidents of SRI. And on this 17th of February 2025, I'm really delighted that you have come to join us. And I'm really happy that our special guests are today Sirko Molau and Andreas Möller. And they will talk about 2024 BX1 and the Ribbeck meteorite fall. Hello, welcome, Sirko.
Hi.
And welcome, Andreas.
Thanks. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, I know both from our observation group at the Archenhold Observatory. So I'm really glad that they are here now. I also would like to welcome Adriano Ottino. He is also one of our vice presidents and co-founder of SRI and former president. And hello, Adriano.
Hi.
And Adriano has been to Vienna lately for the UN meeting. Tell us a little bit more about this shortly.
Yes, we were at Vienna with our delegation because SRI is a permanent observer at COPUOS, the Committee for the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. It's the space branch of the UN, the United Nations. So we were there at the meeting of one of the subcommittees, is the Scientific and Technical Subcommittee. We held two presentations. One was a presentation and two presentations. One was about the so-called triple E, energy, economy, and environment, about our proposal to put the big data farms in space in order to be directly fed by the sun and avoid the great energy demand on Earth. We also made another presentation by Werner Grandl about Lagrange Space Factory. It's a concept of an industrial plant to be located in L5, one of the Lagrange points between Earth and the Moon.
Yeah.
And our presentation were very well received, so we are very happy about that. And also Bernard Foing, made a presentation about the SRI, about what we do, and about some connected projects like the Space Renaissance Art Gallery and other things about analog training and analog astronaut trainings and so on. So yeah, it was a very big work, and I think it's worth because it's a floor in front of 110 countries. So the representative of 110 countries, we can bring our proposal to this big
audience.
Yes. So
thank you, Adriano. Before I give you the floor, Sirko and Andreas, I would like to introduce you to our audience. Sirko Molau became a stargazer and amateur astronomer at the age of 15 when he joined a youth club at public Archenhold Observatory in Berlin. And 1 year later, he conducted his first meteor observation, a topic which has fascinated him till then. In 1992, he used for the first time a video camera to record meteors. In 1997, he became head of Arbeitskreis, it's like working group, Meteor e.V., German Society for Observers of Atmospheric Phenomena, and has remained board member or head of organization till then. In 1999, he started the worldwide first video network to record meteors permanently, which is still in operation today. Over the time, the network has grown to more than 80 cameras recording the sky in about a dozen of countries. In 2018, he started his latest project, arranged the AllSky7 Fireball Network Europe, a network of meanwhile 100 all-sky cameras that are recording the skies 24/7. This network has already captured numerous fireballs and a few meteorite falls, including Ribbeck. Is there one at the Archenhold Observatory? Can it be?
There's one of these stations, one of these camera indeed installed on top of Archenhold Observatory
In
for
the
about 1
rooftop,
year.
no? Yes, I have
Exactly
seen
on
it.
the rooftop.
Yes, I have seen it. And Andreas Möller is a member of the Arbeitskreis Meteore e.V. and is passionate about atmospheric phenomena, especially auroras. Over the years, he has built a well-known website for aurora prediction in Germany, and it's well-known. It's called 3W Polarlicht Vorhersage.de, as well as the Aurora Archive. In his free time, he travels the world to photograph breathtaking landscapes and observe total solar eclipses. I think we can invite you again for a lecture about your nice travels about Northern Lights, genau. And before I give you the floor, I would like to welcome Bernard Foying. Hello, Bernard. He's our president. We actually talked about the UN conference in Vienna, but it's nice to have you here, and I wish you a nice lecture, and I hope you enjoy.
Yes, so thank you very much. So welcome. I've been also observing some meteors a few times with some of my colleagues at the European Space Agency that are running also a series of meteor networks. There also a group that was started in France called Fripon that is running a network now established in Europe. But clearly it was a great achievement, not only to be able to track meteors, but also to find the meteorite at the end. So I'm really looking forward to hear more about your result, but also the human adventure, which is to organize all this effort together and to perform a citizen science and exploration to be shared with everybody. So thanks for being with us with Space Renaissance today.
Yes, thank you. As you can be curious, it's a nice lecture. I listened to it in German already. Okay, Sirko, it's your floor.
All right. Thank you. Thanks again for the invitation. I will share my screen now. Please let me know as soon as you see it.
Yes, we see it.
All right. So, yes, again, warm welcome from Andreas and myself. In the next hour, we will tell you about 2024 BX1 and the Ribbeck meteorite fall. This talk is actually split into 2 parts. I will give the first part of the talk, which is about the discovery of the asteroid or meteoroid. So, and how we actually got alerted about this event, about the observation of this fireball. And Sabine, you mentioned already the AllSky7 Fireball Network, which was also here playing a major role because we recorded this fireball very good from different directions. And then after we observed this fireball, we immediately decided that we have to arrange a search, a meteorite search. And I will tell you how we arranged that. And at this very point, I will hand over to Andreas to the second part of the talk, and he will tell you what happened on the ground. So how we went into the fields, and if we have been successful, well, of course we have been, but Andreas will tell you how successful we have been and what we have achieved from the Ribbeck meteorite fall. All right, and this is, well, it's not a plain scientific presentation here. We also want to give you like the background really on how it feels in reality if such a meteorite fall happens. Also for Andreas and myself, it was for the first time. So we try to really give you the impression how things developed and what you can expect under such circumstances. So everything started about 1 year and 1 month ago on the 20th of January in 2024 at 22:48 precisely CET, Central European Time. What happened by that time? Well, there was an Hungarian astronomer, Christian Czernetsky, who discovered a small asteroid with a 60-centimeter Schmidt telescope in Pischke Teter. At least that's what ChatGPT told me how I have to pronounce it. which is itself is not that spectacular. But it soon became clear that indeed this meteorite was spectacular. It turned out on the one hand that it's just a very small thing. It was just about 1 meter in the first estimate, and later we found out it's actually even a little smaller. It was maybe just half a meter in size. And therefore, by definition, it was not really an asteroid, it was a meteoroid. But anyhow, let's call it an asteroid. And what made it special is that right from the beginning, from the very first observation, it was clear that this asteroid has a chance to hit the Earth. In the beginning, the impact probability was just 7%, but that is quite a lot if you're speaking about probabilities for having an impact on Earth. And so he alerted the network of asteroid observers, and within the next 2 or 3 hours, there were almost 180 additional observations from this object worldwide. And of course, these observations allowed to really measure the path of the asteroid more precisely, and it immediately then also got the official designation, which was 2024 BX1. All right, now 1 hour later, so we are still at the 20th of January, just before midnight, 23:53, when Meerkat, which is the ESA early impact warning system, delivered an alert. So if Meerkat is delivering an alert, then you can be sure there's really something really interesting. And here I did some screenshots, what was actually sent around by email. And there it says, wow, impact probability 100%. So just before midnight, it was already clear that this little asteroid or meteoroid, which was about half a meter in size, would actually impact Earth. And it was already quite clear at what time it would do it. It would do it at 1:32, so 1.5 hours later, early in the morning. And here we have a little map from the Earth, and we see somewhere in Northern Europe, there's this cross. So there the impact would happen. And if we zoom in here in Google Maps, we would see, oh, that's a well-known area. It's really close to Berlin, to our capital. And as I said, the coordinates were given here with just 2 digits precision, but it said already the impact probability was 100%. And if we look a little forward, already these figures were extremely precise, because where we finally found the meteorites is really nearby, just about 10 kilometers away from this. So like 1.5 hours before the impact happened, it was already clear where exactly we could see a fireball. All right. So that was the Meerkat system, the early warning system. Of course, not everyone is receiving this warning, but at least some of our friends received it. And so a few minutes later, it made it into social media. So 90 minutes after midnight on the 21st of January, there were already some posts on Twitter, on Facebook, and so on. Also on the Twitter account of IMO, the International Meteor Organization, there was this alert. And it said, all right, in 75 minutes, you have the chance that this freshly discovered meteorite will enter the atmosphere and you may see it if you're out there, if you're at the right spot. So the word started to spread via the social media, but there was not really a lot of time. It was 20 minutes after midnight, and honestly, who is awake at that time and is reading social media? Well, at least I myself, I was awake. Why I've been awake at that time? Because I was preparing from our from our society. I was preparing a meeting, which would be like 2 months later. And so I had to do some programming. And whenever I'm programming, I'm really highly concentrated. And what does it mean being highly concentrated? Of course, you switch off your smartphone. You do not care about the phone. You do not care about emails. You really focus on your work. So the good point is I was awake. The bad point is I was not alerted. I did not receive these alerts. Let's see how the story proceeds. So it's still 1 hour before the impact. Now it's 0:35. I get 2 phone calls. I just, like with a glimpse of my eyes, I look at the phone. Well, the number looked strange, looked like a long number, but I was busy. I wanted to focus on program, so I didn't really care about it. Only later I found out it was actually an American phone number. I mean, it's really rare that I get a phone call from America. So really, if I would have really noticed it, I would have taken the call. But yeah, I was focused on my work, so I ignored this. 5 minutes later, I even got an email by Peter Janiskens, who's actually a renowned astronomer, really renowned in the field of meteors and meteoroids. He is working at NASA Ames, and he alerted me in person. Sirko, have a look. There will be an impact in less than 1 hour, and your camera is nearby. One of these cameras from our AllSky network is operated by me, and that is really close to the impact point. But as I said, I was focused on my work. I did not notice that. At 1:14, which means like 70 minutes to impact, again, my smartphone is ringing and I get a WhatsApp message. All right, at this time, said, okay, let's have a look. What's going on here? So I was annoyed and looked at this message, which a good friend, Michael Fruerhoff, the guy who is doing this Meerkat system, sent me. It actually reads, just in case you didn't notice, there will be a fireball in about 1 hour on your AllSky7 station. Wow. All right. So the first thing, I was petrified. What? I mean, this was sent, just midnight, and now it was already 1:14. So the first thing was looking at my watch. All right, not too late. Still 70 minutes left. But what shall I do? Okay, so my first thought was, well, I got alerted. Let me try to alert as many of my friends, of my colleagues, of other camera operators, of other meteor observers, because this would be probably a once-in-your-lifetime event, a fireball which is predicted, and you know where to look at what time, and you can see it. So, next question. Whom shall I alert? 1:16. So remember, it's still 1:32 was the predicted time of the fireball, of the meteorite impact. So the first thing, I was alerting our society members via our WhatsApp group, and indeed it was successful. So later I learned that at least 2 of our AKM members read my message, went out, and they have seen the fireball. So that was successful. 1:20, still 12 minutes left. I waked my own daughter and my wife. I was by that time working near Munich, and my wife and my daughter were here close to Berlin. So I called them and said to them, please went out. There's a once-in-your-lifetime chance you will see a wonderful fireball. My daughter was awake. She waked up my mother, my wife, and they went out. And yes, they have seen the fireball. 1:20 again, also our family, we have this little WhatsApp group. So I sent a message. If anyone is awake there, please go out, watch it. Indeed, I was successful. My nephew, who was still awake at 1:20, I don't know why, he went out and he has seen the fireball. We have also another WhatsApp group from my former classmates. You know, they are not so much into astronomy, at least they were interested. And they asked, yeah, okay, where do I have to look and when do I have to look and what? I didn't have the time to answer all these questions. I mean, it was just 10 minutes left. All right. So unfortunately, they have not seen it, but still like 10 minutes time to alert someone. Let's see what I do with the time. It's now 1:25, so 7 minutes before impact, when the last observation of this asteroid or meteoroid actually happened. This was done by an Italian astronomer at Sciaparelli Observatory. So he observed, we see this here on the left side, he observed the asteroid as it was entering the Earth's shadow. So really, 7 minutes before impact was the last time when the astronomers with their telescopes were able to watch this asteroid, and 7 minutes later, it really entered the Earth's atmosphere. Here we have a little earlier, like 25 minutes before impact, so just after 1 o'clock, we have one short animation from another telescope. You see here, of course, the object is very fast moving. It's here at the center, and the stars, because of the telescope is guided against the asteroid, the stars are moving quickly. So this is really how it looks like, probably also a first-time picture. It's usually, you know it, when you observe at nighttime, you see satellites, and satellites are disappearing in the Earth shadow within seconds. Yes, I mean, that's well known, but really that an asteroid is entering Earth shadow within 10 seconds, that was really also the first time. 1:25, remember that. Now we are at 1:27, so still 5 minutes left. All right, so I have done all my job at WhatsApp. Now I try still to do some email stuff. You know, we have from our camera team, we have a camera mailing list. Well, I sent out a message later on. It turned out no one was still awake by that time. So that was really helpful. 1:28, by that time, I had realized, okay, I got the phone call from the US. I had read this message by Peter Janiskens, this US astronomer, and at least sent him a short thank you that you alerted me. So that was just in time, because, you know, I still have 4 minutes. And I sent another message to our Berlin mailing list. Berlin astronomers, unfortunately, I mean, that was just 3 minutes before impact, so no one was awake there. And then at 1:29, Peter actually responded to my email and said, well, even though you are in Bavaria, give it a try. You could have the chance that you really see it from that far away. I mean, Munich or close to Munich, where I'm living, is about 500 kilometers from Berlin, though that's really quite some distance. So I was pessimistic, but at least, all right, I give it a try. So at 1:30, I went into my bathroom because it has a nice window in the northern direction and looked out. And then we are there at 1:32:43. That is really when the impact has happened. All right, let's have a look. How does it look like? As I said, we have a number of cameras, of these AllSky7 cameras. And since we have a dense network, we could really observe this fireball like from every direction. Because fortunately, it was really clear by that night. And here's the first view that we have like from the southeastern direction in Hoyerswerda, which is in the southeast of Germany. And this is how the fireball looked from there. So you see it starts over here. It's getting brighter. We have some terminal flares. And if we are looking closely, we even see that it's disintegrating in the end and falling apart into different pieces. All right, can we get it any better? Well, of course we can. Let's have a look from the northern direction. This is a camera which is located in Demmin, which is close to the Baltic Sea. And you see it's clouded there. It's not really clear, but it's just thin clouds. Some stars are visible. And this station is already a little closer to the fireball. So it's even getting brighter. And you can see the same appearance again. The fireball starts at some time getting brighter. We have these terminal flares when it's really disintegrating, exploding, falling apart into pieces. And then we are seeing the pieces disappearing. Well, of course, we can also have a look from the western direction. West of Berlin, we have a camera in Wolfsburg at Wolfsburg Observatory, MS-213. And this is how it looked over there. Again, same experience. You see the fireball beginning. You see it getting brighter. You see these explosions. And you see it disappearing. All right, Wolfsburg is maybe 100 to 150 kilometers away from the point of impact. We can get it closer. If we now look at the eastern direction, so Wolfsburg was west from the predicted impact site. East from the impact site was AMS-22 in Lindenberg, which is a small town like southeast of Berlin. And here we have already a bright light in the field of view, which is the moon, because, of course, looking from Wittenberg, the camera had to look into the westward direction, into the Berlin direction. And this is where the moon was located. And we also see here the Orion. The nice thing about the moon is that it gives us a good comparison to really compare the brightness of the fireball with the brightness of the nearly full moon. So let's see how it looks over here in Lindenberg. And you see that really at maximum brightness, the camera is really getting quickly saturated and the moon is getting dim, so that the fireball was really brighter than the moon at maximum brightness at the terminal flare here. And again, you see nicely in the end, it is disintegrating into pieces. And now, as I said, my own camera was the one which was closest, which was really nearby the expected impact site. And this is how it looked from my own camera, AMS-60 in Kitzbühel, which is like 20 to 30 kilometers west of Berlin. Let's first have a look at the fisheye view. So this camera consists of 7 cameras with a smaller field of view, which cover the full sky. And on top, we have a fisheye camera. And this is here the view from fisheye. Again, the bright spot here is the moon. So there are no stars visible because for the fisheye is less sensitive. It's specifically for such bright events. And of course, it's not only recorded by fisheye, but now we have the best view from the cameras, which have a small field of view, about 80 by 40 degrees. And then also it's not the full fireball, which becomes visible but you see the beginning is actually cut off. But now we see it, what we have seen in the other cameras from far away, that the fireball is really falling apart into pieces, and we can really follow the individual pieces here as they fall to the ground and they stop to become visible at an altitude about 20 to 25 kilometers. That is a well-known effect. You really do not see the meteorite falling to the ground. What you see, the light from the fireball, that will disappear at about an altitude of 20 to 25 kilometers. And thereafter, we have a dark fall. And Andreas will probably explain to us later what the bad thing about the dark fall is, because we don't see it. So we only can guess what happens in the last 20 to 25 kilometers. So this is the last view here, full resolution, same video as before. This was like the best recording that we have from the fireball. You see the maximum brightness, the terminal flare, and you wonderfully see individual fragments. In fact, one of the Czech astronomers who analyzed this fireball tried to really follow up these individual fragments to the ground and try to link them to meteorites, which were found later. It's not really a one-to-one match. That's impossible, but at least it gave some indication really, in how many pieces it fell apart and how many big meteorites would be to expect and how many smaller ones. So that was the observation of the event. Now, after the observation comes the organization. The first thing you'll remember, I'm still standing in my bathroom in the northern direction. And of course, I have not seen anything. I mean, that was simply too far away. I do not have perfect horizon. So it was clear, well, I could alert everyone, but by myself, I was unlucky. But just at the very minute, I got the first information in this confirmation, in this case, by my nephew. Wow, I see it. That was great. I looked into the right direction. So it was clear something has happened, and it was visible and it was spectacular. That was clear after the very first minutes. Already 10 minutes later, just 10 minutes, this American astronomer, Peter Jenniskens, sent already the first email. Wow, we need a trajectory ASAP. So remember, 10 minutes, the meteorite, the fireball has just disappeared, and there's already the first email. Please give us the data. We want to do something about it. I was smiling at this. But of course, the first thing that I did was I dialed into my own camera and had a look at the freshly made recordings. And yes, I saw a direct hit. I have seen the video that I just shown you. So perfect. We have recorded this event. And so just 5 minutes later, I sent an SMS to Mike Henke. Mike Henke is our American mastermind who invented this network. And we have then set up the European part of this network. So I sent a message, Mike, there was an important event. We got it. Please take over. It's your job. Please analyze the recordings and let us know what to do. 1:55. I mean, it's already quite getting late. At 1:59 already, I was not the only one awake. Fortunately, other camera operators were awake. Andre asked me, "Hey, what are we doing with the recordings? Can we share them?" That's indeed an interesting question. Of course, usually we share our material, but this one was really special, and we had some discussion. Can we share it without any restriction? These are the things we have to care about in such an event. It's getting 2:24. Again, our American friend Peter Jenniskens is writing an email. Hey, is it possible? Is it feasible to do a group search with maybe 10 to 12 people? I'm looking into the weather, whether it makes sense to come to Berlin. Earliest I can be in Berlin would be Monday morning. Remember, Peter is sitting in California. And so 1 hour after the event, he made up his mind. He has to go there. He has to arrange a ground search with a local team. So that meant to me that must have been really an interesting event. So not just a fireball. Really, if the experts say there's probably a meteorite fall, this is something we have to take care of. 2:55, almost 3 o'clock in the morning. I was getting tired. The last thing I did was I sent a congratulation mail to Christian, who's a well-known friend of us, and said, "Hey, Christian, well done that you detected this asteroid. We could really record it perfectly." And I also created the first WhatsApp group for the things that would come later for the meteorite search and invited some first members. And then at 3:07, I checked my clock. Then it was really time. I was tired. I went to bed. That was a very long evening. But I didn't sleep actually too long because at 9:30 of the same day, it was a Sunday, if my memory is right. I woke up, and of course, the first thing I did, my smartphone was lying next to me. I was checking. Yes, Mike has sent us first calculation. So what was going on? And again, 1 minute later, I was petrified. Why? Because I realized these meteorites, which may have fallen to the ground, must have fallen almost to my foregarden. So it was just like 20 kilometers away from my garden where my camera is installed. So again, that was, wow, what shall I do now? And then it took me just a few minutes to decide. Remember, I'm at this time in Munich, and this thing is close to Berlin. I have to go there. I have to go there immediately. I have to go there today because really that's a once in your lifetime event. I calculated how much would it take me to go there. Well, at least 5 hours car drive. So yes, let's try to arrange something. Let's meet with some other guys at 3 p.m. At near the impact site where we had a prediction for west of Berlin. 20 minutes later, after I've taken my shower, I was sitting in my car, did not take breakfast. I took my breakfast with me and eat while driving and decided, well, you know, something you shouldn't do. You should not drive and do something else in parallel. Well, I was doing because I was so excited. I was looking where to meet. And there's a small village called Mödlow, which was close to the impact site. And I decided, okay, this is the right way to go. And then communicated via email to some friends and said, hey, are you going to join us? Among others, I also called Andreas. Did you hear about this? There's a possible meteorite impact, and we should really give it a first search today. Meeting point is 3 p.m. at Mödlow, and many guys from the Berlin and Potsdam area said, yes, okay, we'll come along, we'll join you. And so I did a number of phone calls. It was 11:30 by that time to really find some brothers in arms who would join me for this very first meteorite search. Let's proceed in time. It's 13:10. I'm still doing my high-speed drive on the A9 highway. And of course, yeah, what you need to do at some time is you need to take some gas. And after I take some gas, I went back to the motorway and I was distracted and I did not notice this speeding trap there. And unfortunately, I got 2 weeks later a nice letter which explained to me, you've been way too fast, and it costed me like 150 euro. Okay, now that was a bad side, but anyhow, at 1 minute before 3 p.m., I arrived at Mödlow at this site where we decided we want to do a first search, which was like 550 kilometers away from Munich. And there was already a small team from AKM waiting there. And in fact, also Andreas was almost there. He arrived a few minutes late because he had to drive long distance from Berlin. No, he was busy with some other duties, which means, bottom line, that 13 hours and 38 minutes after the impact, we have already been on site and we started with a search. And this is the end of my part. And now I will hand over to Andreas, and he will tell us what happened then at this very afternoon and in the next few days.
Thank you very much, Sirko. And also thanks, Sabine and Adriano, for the invite. By the way, Sirko, right, driving through Berlin from east to west is not easy. So, okay.
Before you start your slides, I'm always, my heart is beating faster when you telling what happened, and you were programming and the next call came in and so on. I feel always so excited. It's really nice. We have people watching from Krakow, from several countries. And I would like to tell you, if you have any questions, please put it in the chat. I will forward them then to Sirko and Andreas. Yeah, Andreas, you can go on with the report.
Great story. Yes.
Yes.
A movie.
Yeah, it's
A movie.
interesting.
It's a
It's
movie.
really so exciting. Also,
Okay, let's move on with the story from the sky to the ground. So we will continue. I will continue where Sirko has stopped, and this is the ground. So let me check if that's working. Yes, so we have met actually in Pessin. Pessin is like the next larger city next to Mödlow. But actually, we did not expect really to find anything. The reason is pretty simple, as Sirko has already mentioned. There is like this so-called dark flight, and in the dark flight, like the stones falling from the sky, but nobody can observe where it will end and land. What's a big problem there is I will tell about in a couple of minutes, but I think very important is that we already had an observation around the circumstances. So we could see it was winter, the ground was frozen, and there was snow. This is actually very ideal for meteorite hunt because there is no vegetation at all. There are no, all the fields, they have no crops, and there was snow, so we just had to look usually for black stones on the snow. And I don't know if you have ever seen like a meteorite, like if you can see that one, that's how they look like. They have that pretty black and very dark fusion crust. And yeah, it makes it actually pretty easy on such conditions to search for meteorites because it just has to look for black stones. But of course, we did not expect to find anything. But it was pretty good to figure out like what are the conditions there. And they were amazingly good. So then there were several attempts the next day, and also there is this famous Czech astronomer like Pavel Spony, and he's actually an expert in calculating meteorite strewn fields, and he was pretty fast. Like the next day, on 22nd of January, he already created like a strewn field calculation. And what makes it so difficult to calculate the strewn field? Well, as you can see here, this is the trajectory. So on the left side, you will see this is where the meteorite has entered the atmosphere. And on the east side, near to Persein, it's actually where the glowing stopped. And then the glowing stops actually in about like 20 kilometers of altitude. And then there's a so-called dark flight. And usually you can do some mathematics and you will figure out, well, that stone would fall down here to Persein. But it's not that easy because in that 20 kilometers of altitude, there is a lot of wind. And that wind is actually moving the stones away, smaller stones more far away than the heavier ones. And we did not have yet the wind data. And that's where Pavel came into play. And Pavel has calculated the new strewn field together with the wind model. And now you can see the comparison here. That's actually how it looks like, the strewn field without wind. And here you can see there was this classic Germany northwest wind. You can see actually it's way different and a couple of kilometers more to the east. Now actually that we have now the new strewn field, we know where to search. We should not search here near Persein or Mödlow, which is here. So by the way, I think my mouse on the wrong screen. So we should not search on Persein or on Mödlow, which is here. We should rather search on like Ribbeck, which is here. And now that we know where to search, well, we came out and were looking for meteoroids in that area here. But over the days, we could not find anything. It was very frustrating, honestly, because also other teams from Poland, even from US, from Czech, many meteorite hunters came there and they wanted to find the meteoroids, but they did not. And it was a little bit frustrating. And a couple of days later, on the 24th of January, there was an analysis of a spectrum of that fireball. It was observed in Tautenburg, and that spectrum actually shows kind of like the spectral lines. And what you can see here, the orange one is like a comparison of another meteorite fall that happened in Austria. It's called the Kindberg meteorite. And the Ribbeck meteorite is the blue line. And what you can observe here actually is that there is very low iron lines visible. Right here on the orange one, you can see there are the classic iron lines here. And here there is no iron in there. And what does it mean? It means actually it might be a very special type of meteoroid. It certainly does not need to be that classic chondrite here. So it might be something achondritic material, even from the moon. We didn't know yet. And with that information, actually, on Thursday, 25th of January, finally, it was found by some Polish meteorite hunters. And if you see now the pictures, right, and you compare it to the stone I just have shown you, it looks completely different. There is no black fusion crust. It's more like gray and white. It looks like a normal stone on a field that you find like every 5 meters here in Germany. And even the Polish guys, they were not sure what is it. Is it a real meteorite or not? And it took them about 15 minutes to decide, yes, that's it. But afterwards, after they were clear about, there was a big announcement on Facebook, and they were happy, like, hey, we have found it. So on 25th of January, there was a first find by the 3 Polish guys, Philip, Crispin, and Kazimir, and they have found about 170 grams in 3 fragments. And that changed actually everything, because now we knew what to look for. So the problem is I have to work, I can't go out. So there were a couple of days I had to wait, and then there was weekend finally. And I was so excited because I saw on the internet, like there were then a lot of people did other finds, and I contacted them already. And then when finally we went out on early morning Saturday, then we met together with Peter at the strewn field. And our first action of the day actually was we wanted to meet with a guy who has found a meteorite, because we wanted to know how do they look like. And here you can actually see, this was the first piece of this 2024 BX1 asteroids that I have seen. And this is very important for our further investigation, because there are two indicators that make very clear that it's a real meteoroid. First of all, you see here this tiny cracks in there, right? So the cracks is very typical for that meteoroid. And second is it smells. It smells like rotten eggs, so it was like hydrogen sulfide smell. And with these 2 indicators, we could actually identify real meteoroids. So the AKM have met then at the parking spot in Ribbeck at 9 o'clock. And then the search begins. I don't know if you know about like some festivals, like heavy metal festivals, right? You go to the campground, or you see already the metalheads on the sides, they're drinking their beer there. And then people come and put you to your camping place. You put up your tents, of course, have a beer, right? That's important. And then you go to the concerts and the search begins. So going now to the concert, and again, I want to point out the conditions were pretty good at this time of the year, right? So the fields were harvested already, and actually it was perfect. Perfect search conditions. And this was the first field we were searching for the meteoroids. And this plant will become pretty important. I will come back to that. But at this time, when we saw like, okay, it's like old rotten corn we don't care about. So just go to the field and let's search for meteoroids. So 9:15, the search began. And exactly 7 minutes later, our Ina, she's also a member of the Arbeitskreis Meteore, was shouting over the field, "Hey guys, here is something. Can you please come over and have a look?" And because I knew how the real meteorites looked like, I left my backpack on the ground and I was sprinting to her, and she was very excited. And I said like, "Hey, I'm coming, no worries." And she found that. And guess what? That was a real one. And we were really lucky to find that. Like Ina, she's our hero. She found the first AKM meteoroid in our history, and only 7 minutes after actually our search began. Well, we were also very shocked and surprised, but well, we were lucky. And yeah, of course, we have to wear gloves, because for science you should not contaminate with your hand, and also we have some little plastic bags where we store the meteoroid. So in the plastic bag you put in the stone, you wait a minute, you smell, it stinks, yeah, it's a real one. And of course we have to log everything, the exact time when the meteoroid was found, and also the location. And here is our lucky finder, Ina, with the first meteoroid she has found. And then happened everything pretty quickly. So 9:23, we found the first meteoroid. Because usually when you have a find, people are looking around, is there more, right? The stone have maybe splattered into the sky, and maybe some smaller fragments are around. So we are searching in an area about like 5 square meters, and then it was like, hey, look, here's another one, and here too, and here too. And yeah, we found other stones. So here's another small piece of the Ribbeck meteoroid we have found. And here is also another larger piece. Altogether, they were about like 45 grams that we have found in that area, in an area of about 5 square meters. And here, that's how it looked like. People were busy. Different locations where we have found different meteoroids. Yeah. So at 9:24, we have found more meteoroids. But it's still early in the day, so there is more to come. It's gonna be a long day. Then there is a very famous researcher, Adi Bischoff. I don't know if some of you may have heard of him. He's very famous in meteoroid scene. He classified like almost all of the German meteorite faults, like Neuschwanstein, Röntgen, or the Stubenberg meteoroid. And he also is like a passionate, he wants to be active and find meteoroids as well. So he came from Münster and he was looking for meteoroids. And actually, it was lucky that he met us because we could already have a talk with him. So we met together with Adi. By the way, this here is Adi here. This is Adi Bischoff. And he could actually confirm that this is a real meteoroid. And he also said like it might be pretty rare material. So the good thing was we could already give material now to science immediately after our find. So we gave some of our probes to Adi. He took them home to Münster so he could immediately start with the research. And I think it's very important that especially very fresh new meteoroid faults go into science as soon as possible. So search continues. And also our rental family, Jürgen and his family, they were lucky and they found at about 11 o'clock their first meteorite. And now I want to tell you a little bit how the search is planned and organized. So usually you look into Google Maps and you look at the strewn field and you say like, this looks like an interesting area to look for. Then you walk into the field up and down, and maybe you find something. But I want to show you now a video how it reality is. So in that video, you can actually see how big that strewn field is. And this is just a small part. And you can see our group here walking the field up and down the whole day. And of course, I'm showing you only the highlights when we have found something. But you have to think about most of the day, you don't find anything. You're just walking like the kids nowadays to the street, just looking to the ground, left and right. Your neck is hurting and you're frustrated because most of the time you don't find anything. And what you can see on the video, this is a pretty huge area. So it was psychologically hard, actually, that search. But then I was lucky to find my own meteoroid. And it was a very interesting story because from the video before you could see it was partially clouded. It was pretty good because there was no high contrast. And then the sun came out and there was very high contrast. And I just was shouting to Peter, who was walking next to me, and said like, hey, Peter, I think search is over. I don't see anything anymore. There's too high contrast. But it was luck because fortunately, I saw like very bright stones, like 5-10 meters in front of me. And these were real meteoroids. And why were they so bright? Well, you have to understand this is fresh material. It's not contaminated with any other things. It's really, really fresh stone. And of course, it has a very high albedo and reflects the sunlight. So my first meteoroid was actually, thanks that the sun came out, was actually pretty easy to spot. And here I was the third guy from our group who found the meteoroid, and we call it the crumbled meteoroid because unfortunately it was falling apart. But okay, it's something. I was really happy about that. So it was a third meteor find of the AKM during that day. Again, we are pretty lucky because in the next days we haven't found, like most of the time, not any meteoroid at all. But the story continues. At 15 o'clock, there was a police shouting over the field, attention, attention, here's the police, please leave the field. Because the farmer, the owner of the field, he got curious, what are we doing? And I have to say it is a pretty nice guy. His name is Peter. And we had a nice conversation with Peter. And now I want to come back to the flower I have talked about before. So what you see actually on the field is a so-called rapeseed. And we didn't know that this was seeded in October. And it's so-called winter rapeseed. And actually, this plant is pretty sensitive. So when you step on it, they die. And of course, the farmer was a little bit afraid of his harvest. In the end, it's his income. But he was a very, very nice guy, and we had a very nice conversation. He was very eager to hear why we are actually looking for meteorites on his field. And we have shown in the strewn field, we have shown in real meteoroids, and we had a very nice conversation. Police was not so nice. They didn't listen, so they had to feel. And the reason why the farmer was a little bit angry was the amount of people, right? We were not the only cars. There were also other people who had seen like, oh, that field looks like a promising one. And as you can see, like on the festival, there were too many people on his field. And we understood, we were cooperating, and we also put a warning to the internet, please don't search on that field, just for that farmer. Yeah, and then he was closing the area, and because he was such a nice guy, we gave him a real Ribbeck meteorite as a present, and I hope he will always remember us with that. So it was a long day. We had 3 different meteorites found, and yeah, the first one was a 45 gram, split it into different fragments. Then the one from the Jürgen rental family, and finally I found my very first meteoroid. And now here we have our GPS tracks, and actually you can see we didn't make that much. And we were about, I would say, 10 people searching. Yeah, so that was a long day, and also muscle age day. But next day, same time, let's go again. This time with more motivation. So at 9:30, we were entering the strewn field. And this time we wanted to go a little bit more systematic. What does it mean? Systematic actually means we are forming some rows. We have some space in between, let's say like 2-3 meters. And then we are looking towards like a goal, and we are walking in lines in parallel, just to cover a big area in a short amount of time to be efficient. And so we are walking up and down. And this is usually how it's done in geoscience, when they are looking for specific stones, etc. Was pretty efficient, but unfortunately we haven't found anything. But our dear colleagues from the Museum of Berlin, the Natural History Museum, the so-called MFN, they formed a team together with the guys from the DLR, and they asked some students from the FU Berlin and also from the TU Berlin, and they were a very big group, and they also came together and did the same technique. But there were way more people than we were, and they were pretty effective with their tactic. So from far behind, we have seen a big group of people, and we thought about like, okay, this must be the MFN student team. So in the afternoon, we joined them, and that is how it looks like. There were way more people. And what's funny here, because everyone has its own method. Like I like that one here, actually. It was successful. And in average, the 1 hour we joined them, they found 2 meteoroids actually. And I want to show you now a video how it looks like. So that was a fresh find of a meteoroid from these guys, and of course all the systematic search is over. Everybody is happy, everybody is running to this one spot. And the whole operation was organized by Lutz Hecht. And Lutz Hecht, you see here, he's walking in from the right side. He's working at the museum. And I think these guys did a pretty good job, because while they were searching over the months, I think they found 16 different meteoroids. And if you're interested, you can go to the Museum in Berlin. And it's a public exhibition with a very nice presentation and what it is, where they have found the meteoroids. It's really worth it. So if you are in Berlin, visit the museum and you will see there.
Da laufen die Leute drauf. Schönes aber dass halt alle wissen, wie es aussieht.
Genau, auf jeden Fall.
Wenn Dominik sagt, ja, ich glaube, das ist einer. Habe ich immer
Actually, you see how small they are.
Das hast du auch gesagt,
Yeah, and here is a lucky finder actually of that meteoroid. Yeah, so we had some of our members of our people like Petra and Jörg, they went nearby saying hello because they were on their way to Rügen Island for vacation. And there is like a curse of the Ribbeck meteoroids. You always find them when you go back to your car. And guess what? They left us a message, right? Guess what we have found on our way back to the car. So there was a fourth meteoroid of the AKM that we have found by Jörg Struck or Petra Struck. Yeah, 13, 15, also pretty lucky, but for the rest of us, unfortunately, it was a hard day with a lot of muscle ache. Yeah, that's how it actually looks like. The field was full of people, also of sheeps. Be aware of the sheeps. They make wrong meteoroids. Don't collect them. And because we are the AKM, we deal with atmospheric phenomena, right? I have to go for this picture of the very beautiful sunset here. So we went out on the field from early morning till late evening. And during sunset, there was another find from Antal Igatz. And Antal Igatz is a very close friend to Christian Czarnecki. And he found that very beautiful meteoroid here. And I can spoil already, he was out for the hunt to get something for the Archenhold Observatory. That is in Hungary, that place where the meteoroid, where the asteroid was discovered in space. And the home of that little guy here actually is now the place where it was discovered in space. And I think this is a very right location where it belongs to. So the next day we have two AKM finds, one from Petra and one from Antal. And here you see our GPS tracks. And what you can see, we were a little bit more systematic right now, not that chaotic on the first day. Yeah, then we got a nice message from Peter. Peter was writing, "Hey guys, last night I was streaming for meteoroids. It's insane. I found a big piece of 40 to 50 kilograms in the middle of the forest. I couldn't get there by car, so I took out my jacket, put the meteoroid on the jacket, and was walking hours for hours through the through the car to the forest, and waiting for you guys until you helped me putting it into my car. That's crazy. Now I really think about to go out next Thursday again. I have to find this big meteoroid." So you can see actually, you can't even sleep after that experience. Yeah, I had to work, unfortunately. So I had only 2 days. I was at work and I was always looking in the internet how other people found my meteoroids. But now the media actually got into what's going on there. And now Ribbeck is in a meteoroid rush. So next Saturday in February, I go out and Sirko, I think, no, you haven't been there, right? But we went out again, and this time the weather conditions were very bad. It was strong wind and it was rain. And yeah, as you know, strong wind and rain is not the best condition. So yeah, Sirko, Ina, and me, we were entering the strewn field. And Sirko, for whatever reason, wanted to go for the big pieces, so he went to the western side of the strewn field. And the problem with the big pieces is there are less of them than for the smaller ones. For smaller ones, there are more, but they are smaller. So Sirko always went for the big pieces. And yeah, you can see already the weather there. Windy, rainy. I mean, the ground is beautiful, right? You will spot the meteorites immediately, but here it doesn't look beautiful. It's not fun walking there the whole day up and down. This is how your shoes look like. And now I want to show you a video how it looks like with the wet jeans walking over the field. Schattbein!
Ui!
Ja.
Der neueste Besucher auf der Erde. Wahnsinn.
Okay.
Gratulation.
Yeah, I should get an Oscar for that one. Yeah, that was very, very lucky that I found there another meteoroid, because I actually wanted to give up already because of the weather conditions. And here is my little weather Ribbeck meteoroid. It has a very special place in my heart because it always reminds me of wet jeans. So the second meteorite I have found in the afternoon on Saturday, in 3rd of February. And here it is. Also, we have to store it properly. And of course, we have to log the GPS coordination together with the time. Yeah, and here are the lucky guys who have found it. Actually, it was me together with Alex and Sang Ye. And because we have been to Ribbeck, it must be that photo, the Ribbeck meteorite together with the Ribbeck sign. So, but then the weather was enough. We were hungry and we wanted to go now to the so-called Wash House, which is a very famous place, touristic place in Ribbeck. And of course, as I said, like Ribbeck is now in the meteorite wash. What does it mean? Well, you don't get a cake there. No, you get a meteorite cake there. It's very important. And Ribbeck is very famous for a poem from Theodor Fontane. It's like Ribbeck von Ribbeck zum Ribbeck zum Havelland, whatever. And it's very famous about pears. So the cake must be, of course, pear cake. And yeah, scientists have been there, and the scientists, they told them, meteoroids you should store with the silver foil here. So they just put some chocolate in silver foil, and they said, like, now this is the meteoroid cake. And also the owner of the restaurant, he wrote a meteoroid song. Unfortunately, it's in German, so I don't know who of you will understand. I was too lazy to put down some English subtitles. I excuse for that, but I'm gonna play that anyway because it's a pretty funny one. Okay, there we go.
Ribbeck fielen Steine vom Himmel. Jetzt sind es hier einen Riesenrummel. Oh, Meteorites. Viele Leute sieht man suchen, finden sie nichts, wird man sie fluchen. Oh, the Meteorites kommen aus der ganzen Welt, latschen über jedes Feld. Oh, the Meteorites. Meine Lieblingsstrophe, die Einschläge kommen immer näher, sagt der Fuchs zum Eichelherr. Oh, the Meteorites.
So they had their own meteorite song already. Was pretty funny there. Yeah, so this Saturday there was only one find. This was my second meteoroid that I have found, the wind and weather. And what you can see from the GPS track, right? Sirko was searching in the forest for the big main masses, and I was going more to the eastern side of the strewn field. And as you can see, we didn't cover a lot of area, but we were lucky. Sirko tried again next day. I was done with the weather. And of course, guess where he went? He went to the western side of the strewn field. He gave up, right? The weather is horrible. It didn't make fun today. The wind was so heavy that I got blown away. Right? And Andre, the same, Andre also gave up. He said, like, here, that's what I made. No fun, weather sucks, nah. But Andre, for whatever reason, when he was home, he posted that one and he said, like, look what I have found, na. And he also found another Ribbeck meteoroid, but he didn't actually get this with a smell. He didn't get the smell then, and he was not sure was it a real one or not. But fortunately, he took it home, and at home it started to stink. So at home he realized, yes, this is a real one. And here it is in situ, the Ribbeck meteoroid that Andre has found. So next AKM find from Andre Knöfel, and this is what they have made. And as you can see here, there was a systematic search where I have found my second meteoroid. Maybe there was something nearby. Yeah, during February, the search continues without any finds, but our friends from the Berlin Museum, they were pretty fast, and they managed to classify the meteoroids in a very record time. I think it was the fastest classification I've ever heard of. And on 16th of February, Ribbeck was finally and officially confirmed as a meteoroid. And guess what? It's a very rare type of meteoroid. It's called an orbit. And what makes orbits so rare? Because only 1 of 1,000 meteorite falls are orbits. That means this is the 12th time it happened that an orbit was falling from the sky. And orbits are named after It's a French village called Aubrey. I don't know how to pronounce that, but it was the first meteoroid fall ever of an orbit in 1836. And until 1974, there was no other orbit fall observed. And there was some like in Morocco and India, but this like very rare, like only the 12th time. And what is an orbit actually? Well, an orbit is it's like a achondritic material, and it's 4.5 billion years old, like one of the oldest material we know. And it's like said that it comes from an ancient magma ocean of like this old proto-planet. So it's kind of be like the ancient Earth. So very, very rare material and very interesting for science as well. Yeah, now I want to show you actually a real video of our search, how it looks like. That's what we are doing the whole day. And this is not faked, the video, this is real video. The people didn't know that I'm filming. And you can see that's what you have to do the whole day. And as I said already, most of the time you don't find anything. We also had some adventures on the field. So here's Andre stuck in the mud. You might ask, how did he get out there? Pretty simple. That's how he got out there. And because we are the AKM, Arbeitskreis Meteore, we deal with atmospheric phenomena, right? We're also observing here this beautiful 22-degree halo. And there were also meteoroid finds, unfortunately not by us. So here's a pretty nice meteoroid, very oriented, but another guy has found it. And of course, you know the people on the field, you talk with each other, and you are also happy when other people find something. So during the whole February, we were searching for more meteoroids, didn't find anything. And yeah, end of February, 18th of February, I said like, okay, it's enough, I give up. For me, search is over. But for whatever reason, there was this little gap here. So I was talking with some people and I said like, can you give me like your finds, the coordinate, where there was some exchange going on. And there was this little gap that was annoying me. And actually I wanted to know, like, there must be something. It can't be that there's this gap, right? So there must be some meteoroids. And then Sirko was a guy who convinced me, and Sirko said like, hey, I want to go again because I want to find the big main mass, right? I want to go to the western part and find the 200, 300 gram. The problem was actually that area was a forest and it was very dense. And so Sirko convinced me to go in the beginning of March again. And so on Saturday, 9th of March, we walked together, Sirko and me, again out to Ribbeck. And now I want to show you the reason why there were no finds. Well, it's this winter rapeseed, and actually you can see it's very, very dense. So you don't see the meteoroids. Even if they're between the flowers, it's very hard to spot them. And unfortunately, all the other fields, what you can there were footsteps everywhere. So everything was searched. It was kind of impossible to find something. And also the grass is growing. The farmers are preparing the fields already for the new seed. So it kind of looks like it's over, right? So this dense grass, it's growing. And then there are the stupid stones there in between. And well, when you zoom in, I was very surprised again on the way back to the car, as I said. I was very surprised I found that little beauty here. And that was my last meteoroid found, as I have found the last Ribbeck one. And this is a very beautiful one, actually, right? And here you can see that. This is the third Ribbeck meteoroid that I have found. It's 100% covered with that fusion crust. And of course, like, other guys who were out on the field were very, very jealous. So this is Mirko. Mirko, if you're there, greetings out to you. And here we have another famous meteoroid hunter. By the way, he found one of the big stones of Neuschwanstein. This is Ralf Sporn. And he also found like main mass from Stubenberg meteoroids. So he's a very famous one. But unfortunately, Ralf hasn't found any of the Ribbeck meteoroids. So he was very happy that he could see that beauty that I have found this day. Yeah, and that was, I think, my longest excursion I have done. It was about like 15 kilometers that I have made this day. I'm not sure. And now Sirko, right, he took the tough run. Sirko went out to the jungle. I would say Sirko, it didn't worth it. Yeah, Sirko went to the forest. Yeah, beginning of March, actually, I found my third meteoroid and the 8th AKM meteoroid. And actually, this is the end of our AKM search. And now we end the journey here, but I still want to take you on a journey of the actually research, what's going on. So first of all, what makes it so difficult to find these meteoroids? They are, as I said, they are not really this black fusion crust. They have a very bright fusion crust. And as I said, like in Germany, every second stone looks like this. So it's very hard to find if it's a real one or not. You have to go to the ground, pick it up and check if it's a real one. So here we have some meteor wrongs, right? Meteor wrongs is the opposite of meteorites, the correct ones. Then we have some fertilizer. We have some fake meteoroids. You should not pick them up. On the left side, you see what happens when a pigeon got hit by a meteoroid. Someone has picked it already up, so. And there are this little, yeah, I don't know how to say that in English. Let's call it balls. We didn't really know what they are for, but we found a bunch of them. Here we also found some luck and also some archaeological, yeah, like how you say, Pfeilspitzen. And also our friends from the museum, they have found a bomb. So like the official defense committee had to come to check. It's like very common in near Berlin to find such material from the World War. It's everywhere. So it's not that harmless as you might think. Yeah, so I was already talking about the strewn field. So we were collecting and measuring like our finds. And we made a very detailed list, actually, like what is the time, what is the weight of the material we have found, and what are the coordinates. And it was not only us, I was also asking around. I was chatting on the field, I was asking in the internet, on Facebook, and I was like asking, hey guys, we want to go and make the most detailed strewn field ever made in history. And so I collected a big Excel file, and we came up with that strewn field here. And I'm very proud to say, I think this is one of the best ever documented meteoroid strewn fields in the world. So I could protocol till July 11, 203 different finds of a total mass about 1.8 kilogram. And you can see here very clearly, like on the left side, you have the larger pieces. I mean, like left is northwest. You have the larger pieces, but of course they are less than on the eastern side. And on the eastern side, you have the smaller pieces, but therefore you have a larger amount of these pieces. Yeah, and as you can see, actually, it was not a lot in terms of mass that was found, but many, many small pieces. So that indicates the material must be pretty fragile and it was fragmenting in the sky very easily because it's, yeah. Now we can also, with that strewn field, check if the calculation of Pavel's bony was good enough. And here you can see, right, we have the calculation of the strewn field with the dark flight and the wind data compared with the actual finds. And you have to say it was very, very accurate. And this is really something which is extraordinary. So without even having a find to calculate a strewn field, it's impressive. So let's go into actually our finds and have a look how do they look like. So I figured out there are like the 3 different types of fusion crust. So we have the, let's say, regular fusion crust. It's a little bit more black, but still bright, as you can see. And then I would say there is a more lighter fusion crust. And I would say the lighter fusion crust, it's like the meteorite has fallen apart while it was in the atmosphere. And during it was falling apart, like there was still this melting process going on. But this one started to melt later. And also what you can see on the backside of this meteoroid is, I call it the meteoroid foam, because it's very interesting, this little bubbles in here, and we can actually zoom in a little bit here. It really looks like foam. And this must come like from this material because it's like an enstatite this achondritic material. And this was melted during the flight, during the melting process, and it was flattering away. And then while it was entering the atmosphere, it suddenly was cooling down. And when we zoom in even a little bit more, you can see here, there is really, really little gas trapped inside this material. And that makes it interesting. Now you can think about, is this gas actually something extra terrestrial? Is it alien gas, what we have here? That would be pretty cool, actually. Unfortunately, it's not. Because, as I said already, it was cooling down in the atmosphere very, very fast. And the bubbles in there, it's like Earth's atmosphere, unfortunately. But it's still pretty cool to see that. And it looks really, really like glass. I want to show you some very nice pieces, like this one here. It's like a very small piece, actually, not even 1 centimeter in diameter, but it's a very highly oriented bullet meteoroid. And then also this one here, it's a very beautiful one. Yeah, research was going on professionally. I had the big honor to visit the guys from the Berlin Museum, and they have a device which is analyzing actually the material. It's called micro RFA analysis. And that analysis, actually, you can see what the meteoroid is made of. And that's pretty interesting because now we have a proof, actually, what I mentioned before with the spectral lines here. As I said, like there was an indicator that the meteoroid might have no iron or pretty little of iron. And here is a proof, right? You can see iron is a green color. There is very little iron in here and a lot of magnesium. So here's a proof, actually, that what we could already see from the spectrum of that camera actually is true, right? You could already say what kind of meteoroid it is, even if you didn't find it on the ground. Yeah, what happens now with our finds, actually? Of course, everybody takes them home and puts them in his meteoroid collection. Of course not, right? We have the goal to support science and, of course, to support our museums. Some museums and some observatories in Berlin, also the places where the meteoroid was observed, like the cameras that Sirko has shown before. So if you want to see the meteoroids, I already mentioned that you can go to the Berlin Museum. They have about 16 finds. Some of them are in the public exhibition, but also in Sonneberg, which is like a pretty nice museum there, like an astronomy museum of the observatory in Sonneberg. We have hold our AKM meetup there, and we took the opportunity as a thank you to give them as a present, like one of our meteoroid finds. And from the cameras from Wolfsburg and from the Mine, where the fireball was observed, Sirko has shown the videos before, they also have some pieces that people who are interested in can see the meteoroids. Yeah, let's come to the conclusion. What have we done, actually, right? So what Sirko said, we could record and analyze the fireball in detail. And we were the very first guys on the scene. 13 hours after the fall, we were already on the field, and we were searching for the meteoroids and searching the strewn field as good as we could do. We found 8 locations. We found approximately 128 grams of meteoroids, and we made the material as fast as possible public to the science. So we were cooperating with the Museum of Berlin, University of Münster, the VKTR in Dresden, the Felsenkeller Laboratory, and also in the Netherlands, the TU Delft. We did a lot of public relation work. So we made, as we do right now, lectures, press interviews. We provided photos and videos. And of course, we created the most detailed strewn field in history, I would say. And I wrote the Wikipedia article about Ribbeck as well. And to the end of the talk, I just want to present our finds in detail. And I want to tell some things about them. So this is our first find from Ina, the very first AKM meteoroid. Then we have the second find from Pida. This is a very funny one because if you see the dolphin, you will always see it. It doesn't get out. Then we have the second find from Jürgen. And here you can already see there is a lot of rust on it, right? It's rust. And we were thinking about, is this rust that is terrestrial or is it even like alien rust? And we figured out even after that short of time, I think it was 7 days after the fall, we have found it. There was a little iron in there, of course. It was, it rusted already. Then the third AKM find, this is a so-called crumbled meteoroid. This piece is in my personal collection. This piece is lent to the Wolfsburg Observatory. And if you want to see that piece, this is in the Min. Then we have here the piece from Petra Struck. And now the most beautiful one in my personal view is this one. And this beautiful piece will be in the public exhibition of the Konkoly Observatory in Hungary. Again, the place where the asteroid was discovered. And I think this beauty really belongs there. Then we have our wind and weather meteoroid, my red jeans meteoroid. We have the find from Andre. And last but not least, this is the last piece I have found. Thanks to Sirko, you convinced me to go out again. With that, I would like to close the talk. Thank you very much. Also, thank you, Sirko. And we are open now for questions.
Yeah, thank you very much for this interesting lecture. It was really, really interesting. Maybe you stop sharing the screen, then we can be seen all together. Exactly. So thank you very much to both of you for this really interesting lecture, and it was like a criminal story, so how hiding I have here some greetings from Oleg Telikowski from Krakow in Poland.
I think, Sabine, your connection is gone right now. It's pretty hard to understand.
He says these are made of marble. Okay. And everyone is thanking here for the presentation. It was really, really, really great. And I see Bernard is keen on questions.
First, congratulations for your very beautiful story, and also search, which requires a lot of.
But we'll do it in next year, because this year we
your search
didn't
has
get.
a lot of patience, a lot of motivation, the teamwork. So I think it's an adventure in itself. So I hope at some stage we'll see a movie about it, maybe for BAFTA,
Yes.
for a prize, or for telling the human story of your group. Now, on the science side, because I'm a planetary scientist, and actually I know the village of Aubre, which is close to in Provence, which gives the name to the Aubrite. These are very special meteorites, and they have a composition similar to magma oceans, which is things that covered the moon earlier, but also Mercury, the planet Mercury. And some of the Aubrite meteorites, we believe, come from Mercury itself, or from some differentiated asteroid, which underwent already differentiation, where you form a core and you form also eventually a magma ocean. And characteristic, it's true, the iron can be trapped in the core, and the lighter magnesium, can be more on the surface. So the story stands out very, very well. So it would be nice also to tell, the story of the origin of this meteorite. And I wonder, so have you been also attending some planetary conferences where you have presented your result, and you have also interacted with some of the planetary scientists? And I'm organizing one that's in Vienna at the European Geoscience Union conference at the end of April. So maybe if you attend there, or if you have some presentation planned there, we'd love to see, maybe smell some of your meteorites.
So I
They
fully
don't
agree.
sweat
I mean,
anymore.
it's a very good example for pro-am collaboration, as we call it, really for the professional researcher, in this case, a meteorite researcher, and we as amateurs, yes, we are operating this Fireball network, but we are still amateurs. And what we
Yeah.
can do here is, with the network, we have done the observations. We left the calculations again to Pavel Sponi and team, so to the professionals. We got the strewn fields. We went out there together with other meteorite searchers, professional meteorite searchers. You have seen we have been successful, and we handed back the meteorite immediately, as Andreas had said, like to the research institute, because they have the proper instruments to really analyze and measure the radionuclides and identify what it is. So this is really a perfect example of good collaboration. And to answer your question, well, we have presented this, for example, at the International Meteor Conference, which is actually where the slide deck comes from, last September, where also like meteorite researcher, both professional and amateurs from all over the world are meeting, and we presented this. And there were other stories like from Pavel Sponi, who gave us more details on how they observed the spectra and how they analyzed this. So we have not been really at the real professional conferences, because in the end we are still amateurs, and as Andrea said, we have to do our day work with our usual business. But yes, it was really a pleasure for us that we could support science and that we could support professional scientists there with our material. And it may be a once in a lifetime event, but you never know. At least we learned a lot, and maybe next time, if we have such an event, we know what we can do better. But yeah, it was definitely an exciting event, and hopefully not just for us, but if we could transport this to you and tell you the story behind these
Oh, yes. I
stones.
mean, there are a number of planetary conferences. Also, it would be nice to tell the story to a broader community of planetary scientists, because, for instance, the interpretation can tell us about, you know, the very beginning of the evolution of the moon, of planets, and so to show also as an example how citizen science contribute. I would love also to see a Hollywood movie or maybe a documentary movie where you tell
Let's see.
your stories like you have done. You have the different chapters, so the discovery of the asteroid, and then the detection of fireball, and then the search, and then what the scientists do, and how we learn. So, we should
Let's see if
try to make
Hollywood
a
is
movie.
calling.
The Space Renaissance can maybe co-sponsor a movie on the Ribbeck.
Yes, but it was also so very well documented, with
Yeah.
the movies and the camera, and also how you documented it, the fields, and how you search, and which stone or which asteroid, sorry, you found in which place, and yes, and yeah, it was really, 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 really interesting. And yeah, Bernard, you have another question.
Yeah, so one is this is how you also you can learn about the origins and the early evolution of the asteroid or the meteoroids, where it comes from, because it could have been a mag motion which was hit by another asteroid, and that had projected it. And so yes, that would be nice to see. Do you have also other events where you can tell your story together with some of the researchers that I've analyzed? Do you have some other planned this year?
So far, no plans, to be honest. Just before the talk at tell to Andreas, well, that will be our last presentation on Ribbeck, but maybe you're convincing us
Yeah,
that
come
will
to
not be the
Vienna.
last one.
Come to our session. There are also special conditions for amateur also to participate. Of course, we worked also a lot with the Natural History Museum of Vienna, which also they have a great meteorite collection.
They
Did
also
you
have
meet?
one of our AllSky7 cameras at their roof. So
Oh, yes,
yes,
exactly. And
When is it in Jena?
in Vienna, at the end of April, that's the European Geoscience Union, just the week before the United Nations Legal Committee. So maybe we could, if you come, we could organize a little event with you.
let's see.
One
Thanks for the invitation.
offer, as you know, we have also prepared a special payload that we are going to send to space in June. It's called Space Renaissance for All Gallery. It includes some some tribute to some partners of the space. And also we have some artistic work, including the one from Sabine that we are going to send to space. And we have also included some meteorites. We are sending back to space some meteorites from the moon, from Mars, from asteroid. And so we have also some offer to launch some more payload in the future, possibly on a Polish sounding rocket. If we could get, 1 millimeter of your meteorite, we could also send it to space again, like we are going to do in June.
You cannot ask me. As Andreas said, I was always going for the big ones, and I was not successful. But maybe Andreas has something left. I cannot tell.
From the scramble one. Maybe
the scrambled, if you have a small sample, because we can send only small samples.
Yeah, 1 millimeter is enough. No, it's for the symbol.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think we can make that happen.
In the future, we are going also to send some samples even to the surface of the moon. No, at the moment, we have also some payload that is on board the Blue Ghost Firefly, and that is going to land on the moon. That will be very soon. That's the 2nd of March at 9 o'clock in the morning. We'll land, and that will include also some nice artifact from space renaissance, from artists, and also some scientists. So that's a way where
I think we can make it happen. It shouldn't be a problem.
Yes. So that's, as you know, so that's the human stories from all the angles, the adventure, the patience, the physical exercise also you had to go through, and also the research and the societal dimension of sharing that with everybody like you are going to do. So thanks very much for your story.
I sent you both an email to 3 of you, Bernard and Andreas and Sirko, to make your contact so you can get in touch together and communicate.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah?
Will do.
Sure.
Yes. Okay, I thank you so very much. I thank you also to the audience for being here with us all the time. And again, that you made possible to come, you both, to hold this lecture. And I really enjoyed it to listen it a second time because it's so fascinating. And yeah, and I would like to invite you also to join Space Renaissance International. And Bernard will become member of the Archenhold Observatory of the association, support association of the Archenhold Observatory. And so I think we will meet because I know, Andreas, you are often at the Archenhold Observatory, and you also, Sirko, no? And the observation group, you are also a member of the...
Often is maybe exaggerated, but as you mentioned at the beginning in my CV, that was like where I started. That was my astronomical childhood that I actually spent at Archenhold Observatory. So I still have close ties, even though I'm living and working these days close to Munich. I'm still visiting it every now and then.
Yes.
Yeah, I have to admit I'm not a member. I always visit Archenhold when there is this telescope market.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I'm also in the observation group, so I hope we will see us there and soon, and I hope to get you as a member there, Bernard, soon.
Yes, of course. I know we had a great event of Space Renaissance Congress that was hosted by Sabina and Adriano at the observatory. So we want to come back there, and also in Berlin. Berlin, we had the European Planetary Science Conference last year, where we met with a large community of planetary scientists of Europe, but also the one from Freie Universität Berlin and DLR, so some good colleagues. So we want to come back to Berlin at any occasion. One little question. So you mentioned TU Delft. So with whom are you working at TU Delft? Because actually I have a number of students from TU Delft.
It's actually Felix Bettonville is one of our Dutch long-term meteor observer, but also meteorite searcher. He was with us when we did the Ribbeck search. He was also visible in one of the slides, and he's also a professional astronomer, and he has contacts to TU Delft. There's also a big community of meteor observers and guys who are operating fireball cameras for a long time, for decades. So there's a strong group in the Netherlands, and we have very friendly relationships for them. And this is why Felix was visiting us, and he was also lucky finder, and he took some piece home.
And with the French group, the Fripon group,
well, it's actually good that you mentioned at the beginning. We know each other. Let's say it this way. There, as you said, there's another big network, this Fripon network, which is mainly located in France, and the AllSky7 network, which is like different cameras, which have different advantages or different disadvantages, which are spread elsewhere. So I would say it's kind of a scientific competition which is ongoing there, in the sense of we are trying to do the best with our network, and François Collin and the French colleagues, but of course there's also collaboration. So if there is like observation from fireballs which is done by both network, we share the data. So it's really like competition in a positive sense. Really, who can contribute to meteorite science, and how good are the cameras, and we can learn from each other. So there's altogether we are covering really most of Europe, at least of Central Europe meanwhile, and the story will continue. Maybe one last word. I mean, this Ribbeck was of course the most important event from last year, but we started with this network back in 2019 when the first 3 cameras were set up. And till then, we recorded at least one meteorite fall every year. And I mentioned, I mean, a meteorite fall, they were really found the meteorite on the ground. So the first one was Flensburg in Germany. Then we had Kindberg in Austria. Then we had Winchcombe in the UK. And then Ribbeck, of course, was the most important one last year. This year is a very young one. Sorry, Andreas? Elmshorn. We also recorded daylight fireballs. So it's really, it's a very good time, because these networks are growing up, and we are recording the sky 24/7 at day and at nighttime. So really have good chances, much better chances than in the past, to record such events. And then if you're at the right time, if the weather is fine, then we have ideally events like the Ribbeck one that we told you about.
To give you some background, Bernard is professor at the University Leiden. He is teaching in Leiden and also in Switzerland.
But also, I had a good colleague, maybe you must know him, because Dr. Detlef Koschny, he was a very good colleague at the European Space Agency.
Also, Detlef Koschny is one of the camera operators. Yeah.
Good friend of
ours. Yes, so he developed also camera systems, and now he's back in Munich. So he's professor in Munich universities, and he has also a great observatory in close to Munich. So he's a great asset as well for the community. Yes, so yes, it's very inspiring. And so we have to see our space renaissance. Maybe we should learn how to operate a camera and have one space renaissance meteor camera.
You're welcome.
In the Netherlands, the conditions are not so good, but today we had a perfect day, so I could observe both the sun during the day, Venus, Jupiter, with some of the telescopes that we have here at the next office. So yes, we are very inspired by what you have done. Now searching for meteorites in the Netherlands, maybe it's more difficult. Yeah, but some of them, there was a case of a meteorite that fell inside a house in the Netherlands.
Yes.
So we don't need even to go out in the field. We could collect.
Yes, it's more easier, no? But not for the people who live in the house. Sirko and Andreas and also Adriano, Bernard, our audience, I thank you very much for being with us, for joining us. And I would like to mention our next webinar. It will be on the 17th of February. And on the 3rd of March, sorry, today is the 17th of February, and the 3rd of March, and we will have Andrea Lani talking about electromagnetic fields for protection during atmosphere re-enter. Maybe it's a lecture for you, interesting for you too. So you are invited to join us. And I would like to mention we are a non-profit organization, so we like any support from our audience, become a member, join us on YouTube, and yeah, and I wish you all a nice evening, a nice week, and thank you again, and I hope to see you, Andreas, with your Northern Lights, so maybe we can have another talk with you. And yeah, great story, and thank you to
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank
Thank you
you
very
very
much
much.
for the
Bye.
invite.
Bye-bye.
Have a
Bye-bye.
great evening.
Ad Astra.